Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm, of course, the author of the Robot Proof Recruiter, which I do not show enough, and a facilitator and a speaker. I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous, I'm not sure he's so talented this week. He might be hungover, talented acquisition professional co-host, Mr. Glenn Martin. Hello, Glenn.
Hola.
Hello. And we're super excited to be speaking to a former talented talent acquisition professional, but a VP of People and Culture, Madison Butler. Welcome to the Social Recruiting Show.
Welcome, Madison. Welcome.
I almost said good morning, but it's not.
You can say good morning. It is good morning where you are. It's good afternoon.
It is totally.
We actually don't know where it is. Glenn has no idea what time the date is. We, of course, would not be here at all if it wasn't for our fabulous sponsor, Enterprise Alumni. So thank you for keeping us running for another week. Thankfully, Glenn knows where his hand is. Welcome to the show, Madison. We're super excited to have you here today.
It's cool to be catching up with Madison again, though, right? Because last time was in London.
First
she came over
ever
to speaking
engagement in London.
Yeah. I mean, most people would probably stick to their own country for a first speaking gig, but not you, Madison. And you brought your mum as well, and she's super sweet. It was great to meet her. Yeah. So yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome.
What's been going on since then?
Yeah.
A lot of staying in my house, and all of my days feel exactly the same as the day before.
Grand old day.
But it's hot. It's really hot here.
Really hot. And we made you get up really early, which is a bit cruel.
Yes, it's not quite hot yet. So like for us, I feel like the hottest part of the day is actually like 3 o'clock, and that's when it's like 105, 106.
That's unbelievable.
Mm.
I'd be genuinely melting in that heat. But having been to Austin myself, as I said before, it's such a lovely place. You know, I'd probably I'd power through. Anyway, I'm digressing, really, aren't I? Because I should be asking Madison our opening question, which is, and as you said, right, you're very much focused in the world of kind of culture and well-being, etc., Madison. But how did you get into, should we say more broadly, the world of kind of people and kind of recruitment?
I fell into it, like super on accident. I actually, when I was in my earlier 20s, I dated a terrible person. And so I actually lived in Texas with him. And I literally packed all my stuff in the middle of the night, like my dogs, and escaped in the middle of the night. And when I got back, my mom's friend was like, "Hey, I have a job if you want to try recruiting." And I was like, "Okay, I need a job." So here we are now.
Well,
but you obviously love it if you're still vaguely in the space.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's. I think people go into kind of recruitment. I think they think about the mechanisms of recruitment, but actually, recruitment is about people, right? It's about kind of making that connection with people, building relationships, and kind of helping them further their careers. So, yeah, I think certainly I was guilty of kind of falling into recruitment. I think pretty much everybody, each guest that we've interviewed, bar except two, have said exactly the same thing. I kind of fell into recruitment. So yeah, it's a common story.
How does it differ now with what you're doing though? Because you've gone onto a more culture and people role. So how does that differ from recruitment?
For sure. So I actually still do quite a bit of recruitment on my FTE side. But like the majority of my day is really focused around people development, professional development, making sure that the people that work for us are happy, thriving, feel like they're safe, all of the stuff that, is really important to, retention and making sure that you can maintain a happy team for a good amount of time.
Yeah,
is totally. That where because obviously our show topic, which I'm quite excited to get into, where we are talking about Black Lives Matter, 2 months on, has anything changed? I thought Madison was about to drop off.
Yeah, she froze there for a bit. I was like, wow, that's a long stare.
But we could hear her. I was like, I'm going to just check on LinkedIn to see if she's disappeared. Hopefully she'll just reappear in a minute.
She will reappear. Pop up the show.
I mean, you're Jonathan fan. I know, hey, so Amy. Amy. Hi, Courtney. Sorry, we've lost Madison for a second. I can't see her at all. Hopefully she's not panicking. Oh, I should actually just...
She'll be reconnecting. She'll be reconnecting. Sure.
But it's early. It's probably the heat. It's probably melted the line.
And I think we just received a message. StreamYard froze, so I guess she's rebooting.
Yeah. Did you get that link?
Yeah, I did indeed. So whilst maybe Madison's rebooting, maybe it presents a bit of an opportunity for me to plug my latest project with your mentee, Emma.
Yes,
Emma Five Ogle and Radical.
Yes.
So I joined Emma alongside Lee Rag Thomas as part of a project team for what we're calling Radical Futures. So we're partnering with St. Mungo's team to effectively get, at this stage, 100 individuals that have experienced homelessness into employment. So we started this week. It's super exciting. We had our first registration day on Wednesday, and we met just 20 of the individuals we've been working with. Really energetic, really, I mean, real human stories here, right? Individuals that have kind of, for the best intentions, have kind of come to the UK as well to try and find work, and for whatsoever reason, things have transpired, and they've kind of encountered homelessness, and now St. Mungo's have kind of housed them in a short-term accommodation, and these individuals just want to work, right? They've got a history of work,
right?
We have 100 days. We have 100 days, and I think it's whenever you start a project like this, right, you kind of, the intention is clear, you understand the social impact, but it really is down to the success is born out of the individuals and how much they want this. So I'm confident we can deliver that. But Madison's back, yay!
But if you want to help with this project, we do need people to hire these fantastic 100 people.
Indeed.
So get in touch with Glenn if you're looking to do something great for your CSR, etc. Madison, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Sometimes it just takes refreshing and coming back. We don't usually often lose guests, but it really does use the Wi-Fi. So don't stress too much. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I'm going to put you on my headphones. It disconnected when I...
Okay, you just need to push your screen again so you drop down a bit.
Cool.
So we were just about to launch into our fantastic conversation. So Black Lives Matter, 2 months on, has anything changed? I have been watching Madison, as I'm sure many of you have, who's been so incredibly active on LinkedIn, writing lots of comments, getting lots of conversations going. So we'd really love to hear your thoughts. But you do really need to drop down. We can't see you.
Sorry.
Other way.
There you
go. There she is.
Okay.
You couldn't see your face. Okay. So,
I'm back. This happens every time I use StreamYard, by the way.
Unbelievable.
It's really taxing on the Wi-Fi, on the internet.
Interesting.
So
really draws down.
Yeah,
but as Katrina was saying,
and I'm not.
Yeah, Katrina was saying, I mean, look, Madison, for anybody that follows you on kind of LinkedIn, they know where you're coming from. I think they have a sense of your kind of passion, your thoughts and opinions around kind of BLM and what's working and possibly what not working, and how you're very open to a frank conversation with anybody, right? You're not there sort of trying to be in an echo chamber. You will have a conversation with anybody as long as they're prepared to properly debate, right?
Listen.
So it'd be cool to kind of get your thoughts on the last 2 months. What do you think has changed? Has anything changed in your opinion?
No. I can still get murdered in my bed and not have the person who did it arrested. So as long as I feel like that's a thing, I don't feel like much has changed. I think, every couple of years we have this like catalyst that then becomes a hashtag, but then it stops trending. And so then it's like you repeat the same cycle every couple of years. You start having these DEI conversations, and it's just like this repetitive cycle of conversation, but not actually change. And it's great to talk about it, but if I can still get murdered in my bed, then talking about it probably wasn't enough.
So on that point, what do you think needs to be in place to actually have meaningful change? Because if there's just this cycle of conversation and people kind of getting behind a cause or a particular moment, but actually nothing changes, what are the mechanisms, in your opinion, that need to be in place to actually ensure meaningful change?
Well, so I focus a lot on, the corporate space. And I think a lot of the corporate space is a lot of using Black trauma for PR push. because it makes your customers feel warm and fuzzy and like your brand is great. But if you're not creating,
can you explain a little bit what you mean by that?
Yeah. So with George Floyd, all of these companies came out with a black square on Instagram and statements about Black Lives Matter. But if you go and ask their Black employees, do they feel like they matter within that organization? And their answer is no, then like, did your hashtag mean anything? Did your little black square mean anything?
Okay.
If your employees still feel more scared to say that so-and-so is a racist versus like so-and-so being scared to be a racist, then I don't think your hashtag meant anything. And so like in our organizations, like we have to be willing to put processes and codes of conduct in place that allow us to maintain a safe space and be to fight racists and fight homophobes. And like, the one thing I'm not going to do is teach people how to be good people. I'm not going to teach you how to not be a racist. If you haven't managed to figure that out in your adult life, it's not my job to teach you how to like value my existence. And so I think we have to be more willing to get rid of the toxic people within our organizations, despite them being high performers or being the CMO or whatever it is, because at the end of the day, you are harming your entire population.
And that, because it's a perfect segue, let's just clear something up, because you and I were chatting about this before. You didn't actually get anybody fired. All you said, right, was in your words, actually you tell me your words, about if people write racist comments on LinkedIn. Remind me what you said before we came on.
The internet is forever. And so if you write racist things on the internet and you get fired, you got yourself fired. No one else got you fired. I'm just here to let you know that the internet is forever.
And you are perfectly within your rights to forward that to the company. And I feel if a comment like that is written on LinkedIn, when you are very clearly representing your company, whoever you are, you're getting your just dessert. So I think you have every right to do what you want with it.
I actually typically never forward stuff, but I always tell people like your entire organization can see this because it's like on your profile. Like you're like, what you type is literally on your profile. Like, and so you saying all these wild racist things to me, like, come on, everyone can see it. I can see it. I mean, I do bring it to Twitter. I had a real, depending on how egregious it is, I did get called like a long list of swear words last week, and the company had an Austin number, and I was like, oh, well, I feel like it's my duty to make sure that like we keep Austin weird and nice. But some of the things I get are just like super wild, super wild.
Can you just kind of maybe illustrate or kind of give us an example of why you think you get such extreme reactions from people? Because I've read your posts, I've read your commentary, and actually it's fact based, or there is an opinion there. It's not wild, kind of claims or anything along those lines. It's genuinely balanced. So why do you think you get such extreme reactions to that? I find that, apart from some people being clearly unhinged, it's kind of it just baffles me.
Well, so I think part of it is, one, I'm a Black woman. And so for whatever reason, when people read things that I write, they read it in an angry tone. And like, I'm probably one of the least angry people I know. I'm genuinely pretty chipper. And so they assume I'm like attacking them, which like, if you feel attacked by me, like calling out racism, then you probably have some stuff to unpack. Racism shouldn't be offensive if you're not a racist. So I think, and so people would rather feel attacked than unpack their BS, because it's hard. It is super hard to like realize, oh, the things I've believed for the last 30 years are wrong. I would rather attack this random person on the internet and tell them that they're unemployable and that they're ugly and that they're gay and like all this stuff that I'm like, awesome, you called me unemployed, but I'm employed. And so, and then you get wrapped up in this like whole all lives matter, Black Lives Matter thing. And it's like, reading comprehension is incredibly important, but like for you to read Black Lives Matter and think that I said your life doesn't matter is confusing to me. I just want to survive a traffic stop. That's it. I'm not saying that I would like to matter more than you. I'm just saying I would like to survive. That's it.
I found that the hardest thing to get my head around. And for anyone who dares to say that white people don't have privilege, oh my God, like I am near the biggest police station in the whole of Europe. And I see cops on my road every single day, like at least 4 or 5 times a day. And I have never once felt scared. And hearing this beautiful black man saying, I can walk around my neighborhood as long as I have my child and my dog with me, but I can't walk on my own. And I'm like, I just couldn't breathe. Like, and I know that I'm not saying that to get onto that statement. Obviously that's so important, but that I couldn't understand how that would feel. And I think it's so wrong that that's how you genuinely feel. That I could just be killed in my bed or pulled. Nobody should live like that.
And so it's interesting to me. So like I said, I moved to not really the suburbs. I'm really out in the middle of nowhere, but like I think I have like 8 neighbors who are cops. And we're looking for someone to train our dogs. And we noticed that there was a dog trainer at the end of the street, also a cop's house. My partner is a white guy. And he was like, oh, like, let's just go talk to them. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I was like, can't you just go without me? And of course, he was like, no, let's go together. And the guy made a comment to me and was like, oh, did you live in Austin before this? And I was like, yes. And he was like, it's really different here. You'll see what I mean. And Spencer was like, oh, he just means it's like a resort town. And I was like, that is not what that man meant. That is not what he meant. And so it's like, it's wild to me. And so like, this is probably like TMI and you'll just learn about a lot about me. I'm in a poly relationship. I have 2 partners. My other partner is a black woman. And it's like, we're treated very differently when we go out comparatively to like me and my white male partner. Or even when we go out, the 3 of us, it's like people like look to him for everything, especially with the house. And I'm like, it's my house. I bought the house. It's mine. Fine. And we're treated so differently, just like based on, how different we look.
Can I just say, somebody said here, I'm so happy you were able to get Madison on the call, but I can't get my stupid LinkedIn app to show me who this is. I'm so sorry.
Let me check.
Says she is nice to see her live. I just can't get it to show. The comments won't show. I think that says so much about them, Madison. It says so much about, no, I can't even get it to hide. People that they lack so much self-worth and so much self-love that instead they have to project it onto you because you're different and you're happy to walk your talk and be who you are and, just not care. And I just think other people can't handle that when they're so lacking. And I almost feel like your president is just aggravating all of that self-hate and all of it.
Sure.
Sorry. Boris is doing the same thing. Let's be honest. There's so much of that going on in the world that it's acceptable to be, but it's not.
Well, and I think there's like this weird stigma. People like hate carefree black girls. Like people hate us. They hate when like I could give a damn. Like I do not care if you don't like my hair or you think I'm ugly or like whatever. I don't care. I do not care. And people hate that. They like want me to like feel bad,
react.
But they don't like me. Yeah. Which like
they want a reaction. Basically.
Yeah, and I mean even on LinkedIn, like when I get all of these hateful comments, like my strategy is like leave a snarky comment and exit the chat. Like I need you to know I don't care, but I'm not going to engage because I don't owe you the emotional energy of an argument if you're not willing to actually listen. I'm happy to chat with anyone who wants a clearer perspective or just wants to understand more. But what I'm not going to do is like let you berate me comment after comment and be like, no, I'm not ugly. No, I am employed. Like, I don't care if you think I'm ugly and unemployed. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Sorry. Oh, my mouse isn't working either. So we're doing well today. I don't actually know what this is. So this could be quite interesting. What is your take on the recent Goodyear dress code controversy? I can't even speak. These 2 are rubbing off on me. Morning and hungover. Oh, you don't know? There you go. No. Debbie, what are you doing to us?
Yeah. Throwing us a curveball there, Debbie.
Tracy Parsons watching racists out themselves in Madison Post is my favorite reality show this year. Tracy, I love you. You're so funny.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know. And someone, again, I don't know who this is. You said it, Katrina, the root problem has surfaced from the depths. I'm so sorry, whoever this is. It's usually it will show and I can't get it to show.
I'm kind of intrigued, Madison, to know whether you've entered into a conversation with somebody who's clearly in kind of a kind of an attack mode, and you've managed to not talk them round, but actually end up having a kind of meaningful conversation where they perhaps even acknowledged or kind of felt educated through that conversation? Has that happened at all, or is that just not? Oh, that has. Yeah. So tell us.
And I think so. I think the one I get the most often is I will get people who will message me who will say that they never understood, and that my content has taught them a lot over the course of time, and that they've really changed the way they feel about things. But recently I had a conversation with someone over the phone that someone connected me with, and they were like, hey, they're just really struggling with the idea of BLM. Could you chat with them? And so this person was like from the Midwest, and obviously like you don't know what you don't know. I fully acknowledge, like, if you grew up in the South around like a bunch of, you know, racists, like chances are you coming out a racist is pretty high. And he and I had like a good hour-long chat, and he was just like, I'm just trying to figure out a way to like teach my children to be better. And that was really important to me, is like, that's all we can ask people to do, is like to be better, and like acknowledge that this is a journey. It's not like a destination. You're never going to be perfect. You're going to still mess up. But like being willing to learn is the biggest piece of this, and being able to be self-aware enough to say, hey, I've thought about this wrong. I've hurt people, I think is really important. And they actually messaged me this morning, and they were like, hey, I had something happen at work. Would you be willing to chat with me next week? And like, for me, that's of course, because you had a conversation with me. You were never aggressive. And although we didn't agree on everything, you were willing to listen to my side of things, to just try and get a better understanding for yourself.
I think where I've also found the learning is that like the microaggressions as well. Can you explain that for some that probably won't understand what I mean?
Yeah, so microaggressions are typically things that you say or do kind of unconsciously without realizing that they're harmful. And so the thing, you know, I always say about microaggressions is like the wording is wrong, because they're not micro. They are like fractures in a larger wound, and they're harmful and they're trauma. But you don't necessarily realize that you're doing them. So I think, you know, one of the ones I get a lot is, oh my God, I'm so surprised by how well spoken you are. Which like people think it's a compliment. They totally think it's a compliment. But like at the same time, would you meet a white guy and be like, wow, you can speak English? That's so cool of you to be able to speak in full sentences. Wow. And so people think they are complimenting you, but in their brain, stereotypical Black woman isn't well spoken, when that's just not the case. So I think that, and you get it a lot. Like I had someone I worked with a couple years ago. They were like, "Wow," and he had avoided me like the whole time he worked with me, until this moment where I had to speak in front of the organization, and he was like, "Wow, like, where did you go to college? Like, you're just so well spoken." And I was like, well, yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in English. So I paid a lot of money for that.
What's going on?
That's crazy, right? That's absolutely crazy.
Sorry, I thought you were having a tech issue.
No, I think as like a Black woman, like the other thing that gets talked about a lot that's also microaggression is like people talking about our hair. And I mean, to the point of like in corporate America, most Black women feel at some point in their career that their hair has to be straight in order to be employable, which for me just seems wild, that somehow the hair that grows out of my head, the way it grows out, is unprofessional. Which, like, obviously my hair is blue. It didn't grow out this way, but the rest of it's real.
You don't naturally have blue hair. It's about as natural as my purple.
I mean, I honestly, I can't imagine not having blue hair, so I feel like it's natural. But I mean, I tell
you though, just on that, and I know you're not to make comparisons, but when I decided to go purple, I did have a lot of thought about whether I should go purple. Will I be taken seriously? And then I just went, stuff it. I'm never going to do it. If I don't do it now, I'm getting on. I'm going to do it now. But that's the whole curly straight is different altogether. Like, oh my God.
Yes. And I mean, it even comes down to texture. So like I have a more acceptable texture because I'm more of a 3A, 3B, where like 4C hair is deemed as really unprofessional and dirty and like all of these things. And it's like, that's just like how people's hair is grown out of their head. 4C hair is beautiful, but just because you don't understand it does not mean you should ask people like, how do you?
I don't understand that. So what does that mean? Is that more of like the really tight curls?
Yeah, so like I have more of a looser curl pattern. It kind of just does whatever it does. But like 4C hair is a much tighter curl pattern. And so typically like for example, there's a company here in Texas called Cons, and they're kind of like a big company. But like in their dress code, it says you can't wear braids.
I think we've lost him.
We've lost Glenn.
We've lost Glenn. Glenn's hungover. It doesn't matter. We'll keep going.
Braids.
He'll come back.
Braids are a protective hairstyle. So to say you can't have braids in your dress code is inherently just saying Black women can't wear braids to protect their hair, which is crazy to me.
Insane. It's insane. Okay, hang on. Sorry. Oh, I can't get I haven't actually read this comment. Sorry, I'm going to read it out loud and hope it's okay. How do you find navigating your outspokenness in the workplace with BLM to get things done? You say a lot that most in the workplace shy away from, as a BAME female myself. That's actually a really cool question. Seriously.
So I have been pretty outspoken for the last couple of years, and I am very, very open about that when I interview at companies.
Yeah.
As a Black woman, I'm very clear. Like outside of my regular role and inside my regular role, like I'm always going to be motivated to create equitable spaces for Black women. I'm always going to be looking to create spaces for queer Black women. I'm always going to be looking to make space for Black trans women. Like that's just who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to speak out about what we go through on a daily basis. And so I'm very open about that in interviews, so that way they're not like blindsided when they see a Black Lives Matter post. I have a really awesome CEO. He really, really backs my value set, and that's been really important to me. And I think something I've had to learn in my career is like to be really happy at a company, I need to be at a company that also values me as a person, and that means valuing me as a Black queer woman.
I think that's something as Glenn and I being like the next generation up, that we haven't necessarily had that ability to take your whole self to work. And I love that you're creating that. Like you're asking for that. You're saying, this is who I am. Are you okay to hire me as I am? I'm going to bring myself to work. I love that. Absolutely love that. This is a fair question because she's currently doing it for us. Do you ever get tired of having to be in that educator space, especially when it comes to explaining white privilege to white people that chose not to understand? You absolutely asked that properly.
Yeah, for sure.
And anyone who says there isn't white privilege, you and I need to have a chat. Right. Seriously, I'll take anyone on with that. Sorry. But do you get sick of that educator role?
Well, your girl is tired. I am tired, and not just because it's early, but
she has not had enough coffee yet. We got her out of bed at an hour earlier than normal.
I also recognize that like I have a decent amount of privilege myself to be able to speak out about the things I speak about, and so I know how incredibly important that is for people who are looking to learn, but other Black women to know that their voice is also heard, even if they don't get to say things themselves. And that's always been extremely important to me, is to be able to help other people's viewpoints be heard, because I have that platform and I have the ability to do so without fear of, repercussion for my job or what have you is going on. So yes, I get tired, but I know what I'm doing matters.
Yeah.
And then like you were saying earlier, things are changing. Do you feel a lot of this is because of your upbringing? Because obviously Glenn and I met your mum at Disrupt, so we're a little bit biased. She's fab, but is that some of it, that you have that freedom to be yourself? Or
so I think it actually honestly goes back to that like relationship where I said I dated a bad person. I dated a really bad person. And so like our breakup made BuzzFeed level of bad person. So yeah.
Oh.
And so when I was with them, they like really, he was like a super racist, but he really tried to turn me into someone I'm not. And so when I got out of that, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to set these boundaries where like I am who I am all the time. And then a couple years later, I had this experience where I interviewed for a company and they were like, wow, we love you. You're so great. But we need you to change your hair, wear a skirt, cover your tattoos, like wear heels. And I was like, that's a lot. And I kind of had this like realization, like if I'm expected to set boundaries in my personal relationships, I should also be expected to set boundaries with my work, because that's also a relationship. And I don't want to work for a company that values the money I can make them, but not the person I actually am when I'm not there.
100%. I'm kind of interested actually I was just interested to come back to that piece around kind of how traditionally people in the work, HR perhaps, deal with kind of racism in the workplace, do you think that perhaps it's not taken as seriously as it should be? Because I think it's kind of, I kind of almost get the impression that in certain businesses, they almost want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Oh, that individual didn't mean to say it in that way. It wasn't meant like that. You know, he or she, they're a really good person. So I'm sure it wasn't meant to come across in that way. So it's almost this apologetic approach first before any direct action. It's almost as if you get one chance to be super racist, and then if you do it again, then we'll pick up on it. You know what I'm saying? Do you think it's taken as seriously? Do you think direct action is taken as quickly as it should be? And if, you know, because ultimately, I think we'd be talking very differently about workplaces now, wouldn't we? You know, if that first comment, well, I don't care whether it's kind of, you know, miscommunicated. You need to think about what you say in the workplace before you say it. That's your responsibility. Simple as that. Sorry, I was about to go on a rant there.
That's okay. That was
yeah.
He gets this look from me when I'm like, stop, let her speak. He just got the look. He knows he got the look.
That's actually what my content was about yesterday, was like, when people tell you their experiences, you don't get to tell them that their experience wasn't their experience.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you have this thing where you're like, oh, so-and-so said this racist thing to me. And then someone will say back to you, well, I didn't have that experience. Well, yes, you're a white man. Of course you didn't have that experience. And so we don't get to decide like what is someone else's trauma. And so that means when these things are being reported and they're being said, like, they need to be looked into. I don't care if it was something as micro as like, how do you wash your hair? Like, you need to let people know, like, we can't say these things. We don't ask these things. Stop telling people like you're surprised by how well spoken they are. And so I'm a really big believer in like accountability. We have to hold people accountable for the things that they say. And we also have to hold ourselves accountable for like our employees' safety and their psychological safety. You know, I say this a lot, like when we go to work, like if you're working at a big organization, you're working for someone else's dream. And so you should be afforded the right to feel safe while you're doing so.
Definitely.
It's funny because like, just like randomly thinking through, has anyone actually said to you, Glenn, how do you wash your beard? Like it's insanely out of control there. Mind you have had it trimmed. Like, but you wouldn't, right? So why do people think that it's acceptable? Anyway, sorry, ignore me. I just get so wound up on your behalf. Elizabeth Sandler, thank you. Clearly you came to disrupt. We will have one again eventually, if you saw my email yesterday. Love Madison's presentation at March's Disrupt HR London, and great to hear from her again. Question: I feel companies are focusing their efforts on internal diversity and inclusion, which is a plus, but not on tackling racism in their products, services, and core businesses. Would love your thoughts on that.
Good question.
Do you witness the same stuff?
For sure. And so I think, you know, in my free time, I do some DEI.
Do you have any free time? Your LinkedIn posts are your free time.
So in my free time, I do some DEI consulting, and I look at it very differently than I think a lot of organizations look at it, where they throw everyone in a room, they do kind of a core presentation and like, go about your day. But at the end of the day, like every team needs to have a different lens, which means your engineers who are building your product need to have a lens that makes sense for your customers, which means they need to be building a product that's inherently anti-racist, which means you need to really be focused on like what your algorithms look like, your algorithm bias, where like your HR team and your people team need to have a different lens because they're hiring people. So how do you hire people and remain anti-racist? And so when I think about DI, I think about it as like almost like pods and lenses. So like every team needs to is a pod, and each one has to have a different lens in order for your company to be fully anti-racist and actually inclusive. It's not we all sit in a room and watch a PowerPoint and we fixed everything. That's not reality.
Yeah, because there needs to be that want to change as well. No, I've lost my mouse. She's gone. Where's it gone? Don't you love it when it just disappears? I wanted to show this comment, sorry, as well, from Dalian here in. I still don't know how to pronounce your name. One of these days, we're going to have a telephone conversation so you can teach me. Thanks for sharing your experiences, Madison. I hope as a human race we can finally move forward. I know she's been having a bit of a tough run. And hire her, by the way. I've seen her experience. Yeah. Very good.
So,
sorry, there's another question.
I was just going to say, we're talking about kind of 2 months on now, Madison. Let's fast forward to the end of kind of 2020. What's your kind of hopes in terms of potential change? Or do you still think that not much will change, in fairness?
Well, the thing I'm really hoping for in 2020 is that they arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. For me, that would, I think, be at least a hopeful change. Yeah. Because I think that's the thing. It goes back to accountability. Like, people need to know that you are a policeman with guns, but that doesn't mean you're not accountable for when you do your job correctly. Because if I did something like that at my job, I would get fired. And it doesn't take a lot to get fired in the corporate world. So why is it that you can kill a Black woman while she's sleeping and it's still like a big to-do for you to get fired, to get arrested? You still have to be held accountable for your actions.
Yeah, 100%. And we were touching upon it in the green room prior to, obviously, in the US in November, is the what we call the kind of general election, right? Would a change in obviously president, do you think, help with kind of moving forward in a positive direction? Basically, getting rid of Trump.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. Like, yes, the answer is yes. Do I also think, like, after this, we need to figure out how to burn the two-party system to the ground? Also, yes. Like, I don't feel well represented by, like, old white men. That's not who I feel like represents me well and, like, my best interest. And, like, even when I think about the middle class interest, like, they don't get it. They're not living the middle class life. So, yes, I do think that would help. I think people feel incredibly emboldened these days. I mean, even, like, my partner, the Black woman, she went to the gas station near my house and a teenager, like, called her the N-word. And it's like, I don't know if he would have felt emboldened to do so 4 years ago. But I do feel like there's been this, like, weird shift in the way people feel emboldened to be hateful, and they just feel like it is now their personal right. Oddly enough, I'm from the North, like New England. And in my hometown, they opened up a Trump store, like a store of merchandise. And, like, people stand outside with Confederate flags. Like, y'all live in the North. You're in the North. And it's really interesting because I think this is the first time that, like, a presidency has become a personality trait. Yeah.
It's his self-hatred and the narcissism, and it's just incited all of this hatred. It's extraordinary to watch.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, I think to kind of Madison's point, right? It's probably, well, it's been there before, but what you have now is a president that's kind of almost allowing people to be very open about it, as if it's kind of like normal, or trying to normalize it in some way, which is I'm not sure how familiar you are with, like, QAnon, which is, like, an online platform for, like, Nazis. And they kind of got, like, basically deemed a terrorist group. And, like, he went on TV yesterday and was like, but they support me. Which is like, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Wow.
I mean, reading some of the news reports that are coming out of the US at the moment is generally scary, if I'm honest. If that was happening in the UK, I would have an increased sense of kind of anxiety and nervousness. And I am empathetic. I mean, what am I trying to say? I think, Trump leaving will definitely be a step in the right direction. But as you said, I think even politics in the UK now, you look at the parties, and are they representative of the people now? Are they diverse enough? Do they have? It's not even diverse enough in their thinking, but diversity in their own experiences. They haven't experienced our lives or something similar to that, and I think that's probably one of the big disconnects, right?
Actually, I was going to say, interestingly enough, like, a big chunk of the angry men I get on my LinkedIn are from the UK.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Wow. I got my infamous death threat came from the UK.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The person who called me a narcissist the other day was British, and from what I could work out, like, foreigner hating, boomer, blah blah blah, and it was like, yeah, there's a lot of hatred here as well. Completely. Wow. I'm going to bring it back a bit to companies, though. Sorry, because we could talk about him, and I don't want to talk about him. I feel soiled when I talk about him, or Boris, for that matter. But how do you feel about companies mirroring others' Black Lives Matter responses to support their BAME employees with outside speakers as well? Do you have thoughts on that? Or like sort of, actually, I sort of think as well, what's your hope? Because we're running out of time. I can't never believe how fast these go. You know, looking at that actually, because I kind of feel like, I know you're saying there's no change, but I'm seeing a lot more companies doing D&I, diversity and inclusion initiatives. What's your hope with all of that to help them get it right, maybe?
So many diversity and inclusion initiatives are like the warm, fuzzy conversation to like make your board feel good and make your executive team feel good. They're not like actual hard conversations. They're like the warm and fuzzy. It's like a hug and a badge. And like, that's not the case. Like, we can't like wrap racism up and like make it pretty to make you feel good, because that's not what it is. When it comes to outside speakers, I think it's a great idea to bring someone from outside of your organization. However, everyone right now is a DEI speaker. So like, do your research on who you're paying. I had a DEI speaker tell me the other day to stop being so angry. And I was like, dude, like, aren't you an expert in this? You should know that because I'm Black and with opinion, it doesn't mean I'm angry. And so I think we have to be careful of like who we decide to give our money to, because a lot of people right now, again, are profiting off of Black trauma.
Yeah.
And
I think we've all seen an increase in kind of companies advertising for D&I consultants and kind of head of D&I. It's almost like, you know, I mean, there just seems to be a massive increase in that now. So companies are acknowledging that they may have a need for that kind of expertise in their business.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Your question. Sorry, she just finished it so beautifully as to where you were heading, though. Are they doing it because they want change, or are they doing it to protect themselves from being called racist organizations? Mic drop,
ding,
Debbie.
ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. That's going to be a great way to finish the show. Bloody hell. What are your thoughts on that?
That's totally my hot take. I mean, when you look at, if you look at like some roles that have the highest turnover, it's going to be these chief diversity officers, because people put them in place and don't allow them to do anything. They just sit there as a brown stock photo for like their board. And so if you don't allow this person to come in and make change, then you didn't want change. You just wanted your board to shut up. And that's not the same thing. You were just trying to cover your ass. So if someone says, so-and-so is a racist, you can be like, no, they went to the training. They went to that training. They're good.
Yeah. They went through the
training. The training won't create change. People
they went through the 25-slide PowerPoint.
Trainings don't make people good people.
No.
Firing racists is what you do. Fire your racist, fire your homophobe, fire your transphobe. Like, keep good people. That's it.
Not by training, via like facilitation or something that will get them to come, or coaching that will get them to come up with the fact they want to change and that they're much more aware of their ways and therefore want to change. That's got to go first before training.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Go, Debbie. Bombshell.
Yeah, that's great.
Go, Debbie.
Well done, Deb.
Because I had not thought of it that way, and you're absolutely right. And it's just that just. So we kind of got a bit of. Do you feel like at least the conversation's a bit more open, or you really do just think we're running a pattern right now, and you wish it wasn't?
I think the conversation is real when you're Black and when you are like a committed accomplice. I'm not going to say ally. I'm going to say someone who's willing to do the work. But for most of these big organizations, they don't give a shit. They want to be relevant. They want to be able to talk about the trending hashtags. They want the trending themselves. And they don't care about Black people. They care about their brand's reputation.
Just some support coming in for you. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Well, thank you.
As always, Madison.
To the point, I don't even know who next week's guest is. I'm so disorganized. We'll have a fabulous guest next week. I haven't looked. Sorry, I've been so involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Can I just thank you that like I do message you, don't I, quite a lot on Facebook going, where do you find the time? I mean, I've just had one of my posts go viral. It's been exhausting and I didn't even expect it to do that. So I don't know how, because every single one of your posts goes viral. You are constantly answering people and just thank you for doing that. Thank you for educating us, even though you're tired and don't want to. So another comment. I still don't know who this is. Bloody LinkedIn not showing me. So great as ever, Madison. I need to rewatch this as you've given us so much to think about. So
I think that's a lovely comment to close on, right? You know, when you're making that kind of impact, Madison. So yeah, certainly from my point of view, just keep doing what you're doing. Love it.
We love you.
I love London and the
Come back
food.
to London.
I think about Dishoom a lot. I think about it a lot.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Dishoom. Yeah.
You didn't actually love being here for Disrupt HR or to meet Glenn and I or to bring Mum. It was all about the curry, right?
It's great food, though.
Post it.
It's great food.
Anyway, I have no idea who our guest is next week. I feel dreadful. But because of Enterprise Alumni being an amazing sponsor, we will be back at the same time next week. And of course, we will let you know. I'm sure you will follow us and see our page and see who it is. Madison, again, thank you so much for getting up that extra bit early and sharing your thoughts on this. Very, very important. And I think we just probably need to have you back in every few months to be able to say, right, have we got anywhere? And just keep it on the radar. That's what Glenn and I want our platform to be. So thank you. Very, very grateful. Bye, everyone. We shall see you at the same time next week.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, one more this time. Right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.